You're listening to the Acadiana's Morning News Podcast, brought to you by LABI and always on KPEL965.com.
Against child abuse, BACA exists with the intent to create a safer environment for abused children. We exist as a body of bikers to empower children to not feel afraid of the world in which they live. We stand ready to lend support to our wounded friends by involving them with an established, united organization. We work in conjunction with local and state officials who are already in place to protect children. We desire to send a clear message to all involved with the abused child that this child is part of our organization and that we are prepared to lend our physical and emotional support to them by affiliation and our physical presence. We stand at the ready to shield these children from further abuse. We do not condone the use of violence or physical force in any manner. However, if circumstances arise such that we are the only obstacle preventing a child from further abuse, we stand ready to be that obstacle. If you'd like to know more about BACA, please visit our website at bacaworld.org or call 1-866-71-ABUSE.
The entire world watched.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
And humanity saw that the sky was not the limit. Achievement. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL, Breaux Bridge, Lafayette, broadcasting from the Matthew James Tax Pros studio. Find them online at MatthewJamesTaxPros.com.
A profane progressive loses, a controversial conservative wins. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. In New York, Congressman Jamal Bowman, who accused Israel of genocide in Gaza, primaried out by a pro-Israel centrist Democrat in the most expensive House primary race ever.
We should be outraged when a super PAC of dark money can spend $20 million to brainwash people into believing something that isn't true.
Bowman also apologized for using foul language at a weekend rally. He lost to George Latimer by 17 points. In Colorado, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert beat her challengers in a Republican primary as she switches districts.
God has given us a weapon, and that weapon is what gives us our strength. That weapon is called joy.
In Utah, Congressman John Curtis beat a Trump-backed challenger in the Republican race to replace retiring GOP Senator Mitt Romney. We'll get a Supreme Court ruling or two this morning, maybe more. One of the cases left to decide this term, the Trump appeal to the 2020 election-related federal case claiming he should be immune from prosecution for actions taken while president. Evan Gershkovich's trial started today in Russia, where the American journalist was put in a glass cage, his head shaven. Gershkovich is accused of being a spy. The U.S. denies that. Wall Street Journal assistant editor Paul Beckett tells the Fox News Rundown podcast.
Evan did nothing wrong. He's a fantastic reporter. He continues to be a fantastic reporter. He was out doing the job we asked him to do. The piece of this that is just such nonsense is the idea that it was in any way connected to espionage.
The next hearing, Gershkovich's case set for August 13th. Julian Assange back in his homeland. Cheered after landing in Australia after the WikiLeaks founder was set free by a judge in a U.S. court in the Northern Mariana Islands, American territory, accepting an Assange plea deal to an espionage charge. America's listening to Fox News.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable, nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit ConsumerCellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
You know, since 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been committed to supporting our nation's first responders and veterans. They support America's heroes like U.S. Army Major Jonathan Turnbull. Now, Major Turnbull sustained devastating injuries at the hands of an ISIS suicide bomber. Tunnel to Towers gave him a specially adapted smart home designed for his needs. Join Tunnel to Towers. They're hoping all of us will donate $11 a month so this great work continues. Their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
It was a wheel bearing that caught fire that caused a freight train to go off the tracks in East Palestine, Ohio in February of last year, causing a toxic train derailment that still haunts residents. who spoke out at a final Transportation Safety Board hearing.
Barbara Carr tells NTSB officials how toxic chemicals which spilled from the Norfolk Southern train derailment in East Palestine impacted her.
We lost our animals. We lost basically our family because I have both my parents with conditions.
The NTSB and its chair, Jennifer Homendy, say the railway did not need to burn off chemicals from derailed cars and delayed or failed to provide critical investigative information.
They've waited till now to move something, so we're going to advocate for including all our recommendations to prevent this from reoccurring. Let's go.
Calling for federal legislation on the agency's recommendations, which include improving detection of wheel-bearing failures. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
President Biden is trying to right what he thinks is a wrong, offering pardons to LGBTQ military service members who were forced out for violating a now repealed ban on openly gay military service. A setback in court in Oklahoma to the plan to open the nation's first publicly funded religious school.
The Oklahoma State Supreme Court ruled against plans for a religious public charter school, calling it unconstitutional. Previously, the statewide virtual charter school board approved an application from the Catholic Archdiocese of Oklahoma. The decision had the support of Republican Governor Kevin Stitt, but the state high court concluded Tuesday that charter schools are public and therefore must be non-sectarian. The Archdiocese of Oklahoma City and Diocese of Tulsa said in a statement they will consider all legal options in response to the ruling. Tom Graham, Fox News.
On Wall Street, stock futures are mixed like yesterday when the Dow plunged almost 300 points with the Nasdaq gained 220. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
Your 24/7 news source, on air, online, and with the KPEL News app. Now the headlines from the KPEL News Center.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Wirtz with a look at news on this Wednesday, June 26th. Lafayette police are investigating after a person was shot and killed at an apartment complex on Robley just before midnight. They arrived and had the victim transported to the hospital, where he later died. Officers identified a vehicle nearby they believe may have been involved, but the driver fled and a chase ensued through Lafayette into Vermilion Parish. They were able to stop that person, and 3 people were taken into custody. The identities of the victim and the suspects has not been released. A Ville Platte man has been arrested in connection with the disappearance of a 27-year-old woman who has yet to be found. Ville Platte police say they've been looking for Kiki Doucette, who was last seen on June 15th. They obtained a warrant for the arrest of 75-year-old Jerry Lee Verrett on a charge of solicitation of prostitution. Anyone with information that could help find Kiki Doucette is asked to call Ville Platte police. A former Lafayette psychiatric nurse practitioner will spend the next 5 years in jail. Mark DeCluet was well known in the field of addiction treatment. He was arrested in 2022 in Alexandria for allegedly providing narcotics in exchange for sexual favors. In a plea deal Monday, DeCluet pled guilty to obtaining controlled dangerous substances by fraud and possession of a Schedule III and Schedule II controlled dangerous substance. He pleaded not guilty to the 7 original charges, and the Rapides Parish Sheriff's Office was ordered to destroy any evidence seized during that arrest. DeCluet was also ordered to surrender his professional license. Governor Jeff Landry vetoed a $1 million expenditure earmarked for Catholic Charities of Acadiana for the next fiscal year. The money would have provided sheltering operations across 8 parishes provided by the organization. The veto was one of 4 to fund non-governmental organizations, and Landry said in a letter that his office reviewed each of the 33 lines to determine whether the expenditure served an appropriate government function and was an efficient use of state dollars. The fiscal year begins July 1st. Dr. Ralph Abraham will serve as the state's first Surgeon General. House Bill 853, passed by the legislature, created the new position in state government. Governor Landry aims to modernize the department, and Abraham says he wants to change policies that have been holding the state back. Landry also appointed Michael Harrington to Department of Health Secretary and Chief of Staff Drew Moranto to Undersecretary. Crowley native Dr. Pete Krogan will continue in his role as Deputy Secretary in that department. Republican Congressman Garrett Graves, who is not seeking re-election for his seat in the U.S. House, says he does not intend to run for the Public Service Commission, as some had speculated. Graves says he looks forward to stepping back from the growing divisiveness of political office. Former Baton Rouge Representative Scott McKnight is running for the Public Service Commission. Current District 2 Commissioner Craig Green announced he would not seek re-election. Lafayette Senator Jean-Paul Cousin and former State Representative Barry Ivey from Central have also expressed interest in running for the Public Service Commission seat. Great news in UL sports. Ragin' Cajun alum Allison Habits will take the helm at the program that launched her softball career. Dr. Brian Maggart announced Tuesday that the Crowley native will be the new head softball coach at UL. Habits played for the Cajuns from 90 until 95. She last coached at the University of Alabama, where she served for 25 years before leaving in 2023. Ragin' Cajuns football has received verbal commitments from 2 local high school football stars. Cecilia defensive back Brent Gordon and Acadiana High's Russell Babineau will play for the Cajuns after their senior season. That's a look at news. I'm Tracy Ward.
This hour of Acadiana's Morning News has been brought to you by Jani King. The King of Clean has been a leader in the cleaning industry on the Gulf Coast for over 35 years. To find out more about their cleaning and disinfecting services, head to their website at janiking.com.
Fairly quiet weather across Acadiana today. Those temperatures are going to be sitting between the low to mid 90s. The heat index, the more important number, though, and that's going to get up to about 106. A 30% chance for a few isolated showers later on in the afternoon. Those winds coming from the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Overnight lows down in the mid 70s with a few overnight showers possible. Rainfall going to be picking up tomorrow afternoon and then quieting down by the weekend. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
No accidents on the roadways early this morning. That's good news. Current temperature is 80 degrees. Good morning and welcome into Acadiana's Morning News on this June 26th. KPEL News Time is 6:12. Tracy Wirtz in with you, being joined by Jamie Angel this morning. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, Tracy. How's it going?
It's Monday. It's Monday. It's Wednesday. I know. Don't push us back, right?
Wednesday already, though.
That's kind of the way the whole week has felt.
No, I've learned since turning 40, which is a few years ago, that time only speeds up. Like rapid fire.
Yep.
I can't even. I can't.
Yeah. And I had this conversation with somebody the other day. Same thing is that there's still 24 hours in a day. There's still 60 seconds in a minute. There's still 12 months in a year. All the things, but it just flies. Just flies. Yep. Absolutely, 100%. It is, again, June the 26th. Yesterday, I actually read some of these early, but it's National Coconut Day.
Coconut.
I love coconut. My husband hates it, so any chance I can get to enjoy some.
Same. I love it. My wife's not a fan.
Yeah. It's National Chocolate Pudding Day. National Beautician's Day. So all hail the people who keep us looking
That's
beautiful.
That's still a kosher word. Aren't you supposed to call it like a stylist or a esthetician?
Esthetician is skin.
Oh, skin. Or
stylist, I don't know.
Obstetrician.
Maybe that too. On this date in history, let's take a look at the list this morning. Some pretty interesting things. On this date in 1894, Carl Benz, as in B-E-N-Z, as in Mercedes-Benz, patented the gasoline-operated motor car.
Well, what happened to Henry Ford?
I don't know. I think he built the Model T. I have no idea. But this dude patented it, so. Let me tell you. I found that on the internet, so it must be true.
It must be true.
On this date in 1990, you remember this? Read my lips.
Read my lips.
No new taxes.
New taxes.
Well, in 1990, President George H.W. went back on his No New Taxes campaign pledge, conceding that tax increases would have to be included in any deficit reduction package worked out with congressional negotiators. I remember that.
And it must not include broccoli.
Did he not like broccoli?
Did not like broccoli.
I did not know that. There's a little
factoid. It made him
factoid.
physically ill.
Really?
Yeah.
That's how I am with mushrooms. On this date in 1993, President Bill Clinton ordered a U.S. cruise missile strike on Iraq, and I remember that too. On this date in 1996, and you know why I remember that? Let me stop. Because that was like the first Gulf War, you know, and I think that we don't remember that as acutely. But that was the time in history when people my age were in the military and were overseas fighting. And I know a lot of people who were. And I just remember that time very vividly.
I vaguely remember it, but I'm very familiar with Iraq. I lived there for a year. Lovely place. I don't recommend it.
Well, no, and because you served in the military.
Yeah.
You were there, I guess, after.
My unit was actually the last unit in the Iraq conflict, in the Operation New Dawn, I think is what it was called at the time. Our unit ended the war.
Yeah.
We were the last ones out, turned the lights out.
Yeah.
We only left a small contingent, lots of equipment, and we were out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's. Thank you for your service, Jamie. Wow. On this date in 1996, the Supreme Court ordered the Virginia Military Institute to admit women and forgo state support. On this date, and think about that was 96. So that's relatively recently.
The year before I graduated high school.
See there? On this date in 2008, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a handgun ban in Washington, D.C., as it affirmed in a 5-4 vote that an individual right to gun ownership existed. Hallelujah. On this date in 2020, after protesters in Washington, D.C. attempted to pull down a statue of Andrew Jackson, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to protect monuments, memorials, and statues. And I have such a strong opinion about all of those statues being torn down. You know, I know it's not shared by certain people, you know. I mean, there's definitely factions, right? And I don't, and I'm going to just share it because I can. I have the microphone right now. My thoughts on these are that I absolutely don't want anybody to be triggered or to memorialize anybody who has done harm or that. Like if we had a statue of Hitler, like, no.
Absolutely.
Right? Some of these monuments that have been torn down, though, and taken down, in my opinion, some of these people, and I don't know about Andrew Jackson, but, right, I'm not speaking directly about Andrew Jackson is what I should say. I think everything needs to be taken into account.
Yeah.
You know, like what was going on at the time they were there, and look at their whole resume.
Right.
Did they, was it, if you look at everything, is that the one thing that they did wrong?
And not to justify what they
not
did
at all,
but back then it was a common practice.
Right.
And it was a widely accepted practice, as
right.
bad as it was.
Absolutely.
But Andrew Jackson was the president of the United States.
Exactly.
So was George Washington. We're not going to go and rename Washington, D.C.
Right.
We're not going to go and take down the Washington Monument, tear down Mount Vernon.
Right.
I mean,
it's about perspective. Yeah. It's about
location matters.
Yeah, location matters. And I again, what the whole slavery that I don't think that you will find anybody in the United States of America who condones what happened. However, let's focus on women. If you look at women, there were a lot of these people who voted against having women voting or allowing women to do certain things, but they did other great things.
Like all men up until the 1940s,
exactly.
50s.
And I haven't seen any of those statues under attack. So I just feel like it needed to be put in perspective, and I'm concerned that it didn't. You can't erase history.
Right.
And that concerns me. It just concerns me. Anyway, that's me on my soapbox, and now I will get off because really, who cares what I have to say?
Everything's clean now.
That's right. That's right. We do have a lot to do this morning. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, it's our Mayor's Minutes, and joining us today will be Youngsville Mayor Ken Ritter. And then in the 8 o'clock hour, we will be joined by Dr. Holly Bofi, who is the principal at the W.D. Smith Career Center. And so she'll talk about that, and also Lafayette Parish School Superintendent Francis Touchette. So they'll be in the 8 o'clock hour. KPEL News Time is 6:20.
Media Minute with Howard Kurtz.
Julian Assange
became a free man yesterday, pleading guilty to a single felony count of illegally obtaining and disclosing national security material, and was sentenced to time served in a British prison, about 5 years. And I think that's fair. The case brought by the Trump administration had dragged on for way too long. What I don't agree with is the notion promoted by Assange and his allies that he was just like any investigative reporter disclosing really important information. For one thing, he relied on hacking, whether it was done by himself or others. Normal news organizations don't do that. For another, he just put everything out without regard to jeopardizing people, sources, and methods. Some of the newspapers that relied on the information did that. And then he put out the stuff from the DNC, which had no national security implications. And so he's not exactly a journalist. With your Media Minute, Howie Kurtz, Fox News.
4th of July is next week. Do you have your plans for the grill? Because you know it's like kind of an unofficial rule. Well, Rouse's has some ideas for you, and they're going to make them more than affordable. Check this out. Rouse's Markets has USDA Grade A Sanderson Farms boneless, skinless, fresh chicken breasts. Those are awesome on the grill. $1.99 a pound for fresh, boneless, skinless chicken breasts. Heck, you could buy some and put them in the freezer for later. That is a savings, by the way, of $2 a pound. And USDA prime beef T-bone steaks, just $9.99 a pound. You save $10 a pound. That is just insane, but Rouse's wants to save you money, and they're serious about it. Fresh, large, seeded watermelons, just $5.88. Nothing better than some cool watermelon on a hot day. That's a savings of $3.11. And 12-count single-serve and 10 to 12-ounce bags of community coffee, just $4.97. You'll save over $4.50 on each one. You need to go buy Rouse's. Get ready for 4th of July. Get ready for that cookout, and maybe stock the freezer with some meat for later. Find more savings in-store and online because they have dozens at rouses.com. The Rustic Renegade is your one-stop shop in Lafayette for firearms, concealment furniture, men's grooming products, and our locally roasted coffee.
Fairly quiet weather across Acadiana today. Those temperatures are going to be sitting between the low to mid 90s. The heat index, the more important number, though, and that's going to get up to about 106. A 30% chance for a few isolated showers later on in the afternoon. Those winds coming from the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Overnight lows down in the mid 70s with a few overnight showers possible. Rainfall going to be picking up tomorrow afternoon and then quieting down by the weekend. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
All right, still no accidents on the roads. That's good news on this Wednesday morning. Current temperature is 80 degrees. Good morning. Welcome back into Acadiana's with an S Morning News. It is 6:25. Tracy Wirtz and Jamie Angel joining us this morning. Jamie, I was in a meeting yesterday, and when I got the push notification that Allison Habits had been named the head coach at softball for UL softball, I let out. I was like, "What?"
An audible gasp.
And everybody in the meeting thought, like, they kind of looked at me like, "Are you okay?" And I said, I am so incredibly excited about her taking over the helm at UL softball. And, you know, she spent 25 years at the University of Alabama on the softball program. I've known Allison's family since, well, her sister and I were in like kindergarten together.
Oh, wow.
So I've known them for a really long time. And first, let me say, I actually went to homecoming with her brother. We were buddies in high school. Yeah. We were just friends. And I was like, hey, you want to? Yeah. And so, I mean, like, I've known their family for a long time. And just a nice family. Yeah. Genuine, just really nice people. And she, of course, played baseball before she started her softball career. And she says in the news release from yesterday that UL actually kicked off her softball career. That's where she really started kind of playing softball, because prior to that, She played baseball.
Yeah,
I
Notre
remember
Dame or Crowley, right?
Yeah, Notre Dame. But even before that, when she was very young, we did rec ball and that kind of thing. Allison didn't play softball. She played baseball. She and it was, wow, she's playing baseball and she's really good too. And I remember one of the times she came back, we were talking about things. I had seen her because we go to church together, and I remember her saying that she never thought softball was in the cards for her. Like, it wasn't something that she was going to do. And she just really enjoyed it. And then when she got the softball, when she started coaching softball at Alabama, and I think she finished, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, Allison, if you're listening. I think she finished like as assistant coach or something.
Associate head coach.
Yeah. And she coached the outfield. And if you knew Allison for a large part of, especially her baseball career, she played infield, and she talked about how much she enjoyed coaching the outfield at that time. And she was surprised how much she enjoyed, how much passion she developed for coaching the outfield. And anyway, I just have all the respect and admiration for Allison, for her whole family. I just like Allison. I'm excited. I just like all the warm fuzzies, all the warm fuzzies.
And for those who didn't know, she was a coach at Alabama for the last 25 years.
25 years, yeah.
It's a long time. During that time, they won a championship. They made it to the 14 Women's College World Series appearances. So it's not just, let's hire the local guy. Let's hire the local gal who's one of the best in the country.
Right. No, absolutely, without a doubt. And, she did spend a lot of time in Alabama, and her family's fairly close. So I am sure that, I don't know. I didn't ask her. This is an assumption, but I'm sure that she is excited not only to be back at her alma mater because she graduated from UL, but that she's able to stay near her family.
We have a long history here at UL of doing pretty well with locally born and raised coaches.
Yeah. So huge, giant, just as big as it can get. Congratulations to Allison, but more congratulations to UL because this is a big win for them. KPEL News Time, 6:29.
Ow.
This is House Call for Health. It's a public health crisis. The U.S. Surgeon General issuing an advisory on firearm violence in the country. Dr. Vivek Murthy saying over the last decade, the number of people who have died or were killed from firearm-related injuries has been rising. And it's also the top cause of death for children and adolescents. Dr. Murthy writing in a press release, quote, "We don't have to continue down this path, and we don't have to subject our children to the ongoing horror of firearm violence in America. All Americans deserve to live their lives free from firearm violence, as well as from the fear and devastation that it brings. It will take the collective commitment of our nation to turn the tide on firearm violence." Dr. Murthy noting that firearm violence negatively impacts the mental health of young people, as many teens wonder what would happen if someone came into their school with a gun. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health, I'm Anna Eliopoulos, Fox News.
This hour brought to you by the Matthew James Tax Pros. Find them online at MatthewJamesTaxPros.com.
Your 24/7 news source, on air, online, and with the KPEL News app. Now the headlines from the KPEL News Center.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Wirtz with a look at news on this Wednesday, June 26th. Lafayette police are investigating after a person was shot and killed at an apartment complex on Robley just before midnight. They arrived and had the victim transported to the hospital where he later died. Officers identified a vehicle nearby they believe may have been involved, but the driver fled and a chase ensued through Lafayette into Vermilion Parish. They were able to stop that person, and 3 people were taken into custody. The identities of the victim and the suspects has not been released. A Ville Platte man has been arrested in connection with the disappearance of a 27-year-old woman who has yet to be found. Ville Platte police say they've been looking for Kiki Doucette, who was last seen on June 15th. They obtained a warrant for the arrest of 75-year-old Jerry Leverett on a charge of solicitation of prostitution. Anyone with information that could help find Kiki Doucette is asked to call Ville Platte police. A former Lafayette psychiatric nurse practitioner will spend the next 5 years in jail. Mark DeCluet was well known in the field of addiction treatment. He was arrested in 2022 in Alexandria for allegedly providing narcotics in exchange for sexual favors. In a plea deal Monday, DeCluet pled guilty to obtaining controlled dangerous substances by fraud and possession of a Schedule III and Schedule II controlled dangerous substance. He pleaded not guilty to the 7 original charges, and the Rapides Parish Sheriff's Office was ordered to destroy any evidence seized during that arrest. DeCluet was also ordered to surrender his professional license. Governor Jeff Landry vetoed a $1 million expenditure earmarked for Catholic Charities of Acadiana for the next fiscal year. The money would have provided sheltering operations across 8 parishes provided by the organization. The veto was one of 4 to fund non-governmental organizations, and Landry said in a letter that his office reviewed each of the 33 lines to determine whether the expenditure served an appropriate government function and was an efficient use of state dollars. The fiscal year begins July 1st. Dr. Ralph Abraham will serve as the state's first Surgeon General. House Bill 853, passed by the legislature, created the new position in state government. Governor Landry aims to modernize the department, and Abraham says he wants to change policies that have been holding the state back. Landry also appointed Michael Harrington to Department of Health Secretary and Chief of Staff Drew Moranto to Undersecretary. Crowley native Dr. Pete Krogan will continue in his role as Deputy Secretary in that department. Republican Congressman Garrett Graves, who is not seeking re-election for his seat in the U.S. House, says he does not intend to run for the Public Service Commission, as some had speculated. Graves says he looks forward to stepping back from the growing divisiveness of political office. Former Baton Rouge Representative Scott McKnight is running for the Public Service Commission. Current District 2 Commissioner Craig Green announced he would not seek re-election. Lafayette Senator Jean-Paul Cousin and former State Representative Barry Ivey from Central have also expressed interest in running for the Public Service Commission seat. Great news in UL sports. Ragin' Cajun alum Allison Habits will take the helm at the program that launched her softball career. Dr. Brian Maggart announced Tuesday that the Crowley native will be the new head softball coach at UL. Habits played for the Cajuns from 90 until 95. She last coached at the University of Alabama, where she served for 25 years before leaving in 2023. Ragin' Cajuns football has received verbal commitments from 2 local high school football stars. Cecilia defensive back Brent Gordon and Acadiana High's Russell Babineau will play for the Cajuns after their senior season. That's a look at news. I'm Tracy Wirt.
Faith House has been Acadiana's safe haven since 1981 for victims suffering from violent or aggressive behavior in the home. This includes physical, emotional, financial, or sexual violence. We provide shelter, safety, advocacy, and resources to survivors and their children to empower them to break the cycle of abuse. Domestic violence affects 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men in their lifetime. In 2016, Faith House opened the Family Justice Center located downtown Lafayette, which houses law enforcement, prosecutors, civil legal services, and advocates under one roof to expedite the response time to domestic violence and reduce homicide rates. If you or someone you know is in need of assistance, please call our crisis line at 888-411-1333 to speak to an advocate. If you would like to support our mission, find us on Facebook under Faith House Acadiana or our website, faithhouseacadiana.com. On behalf of the survivors and children we serve, thank you for 39 years of care for those hurting in our community.
Party at Rock and Bowl all weekend starting on Thursday with 4 horses, Friday parade route, Saturday GTO party band, and Sunday chubby carrier. Tickets now at rockandbowl.com. God bless you, God love you, and thank God for you.
Fairly quiet weather across Acadiana today. Those temperatures are going to be sitting between the low to mid-90s. The heat index, the more important number, though, and that's going to get up to about 106. A 30% chance for a few isolated showers later on in the afternoon. Those winds coming from the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Overnight lows down in the mid-70s with a few overnight showers possible. Rainfall going to be picking up tomorrow afternoon and then quieting down by the weekend. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
All right, nothing on the traffic board early this morning. The sun is, of course, coming up on this Wednesday. Current temperature 80 degrees. KPEL News Time is 6:40. Wednesday, June 26th. Tracy Wirtz, joined by Jamie Angel this morning. And in the news, Jamie, we heard that Governor Jeff Landry vetoed $1 million that would have gone to Catholic Charities of Acadiana and their programs. It's not the only thing that he vetoed. Out of more than 600 earmarks, according to NOLA.com, Landry's veto pen undid $4.32 million for 21 funding requests approved by the House and Senate, including some in New Orleans. He sent a letter to both House Speaker Philip DeVilliers and Senate President Cameron Henry. He said that he chose which request to veto by evaluating whether they, quote, serve an appropriate government function and if the appropriation was an efficient and effective use of state resources. I think that's smart in looking at it. I'm interested to see the full list of the things that he did not veto. I haven't seen that yet. There were 33 items on the list, and he vetoed 4 that really stood out. And some of them, yeah, I mean, I gotta, okay, maybe I can see your argument. Again, I'm really interested to see what the full list looked like, because essentially, from what I've read and I understand, these were all non-governmental organizations that requested and were in the budget for being funded.
Yeah, it's interesting because we were talking about this a little bit in the break, and there's a lot of things that the state provides money to that are a lot of organizations that are like NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and personally, not that anyone wants to know my opinion,
but we have the mic, so we
as a tax-paying citizen, I expect to receive a certain level of government services,
right?
With the tax, and we all should. Mainly roads. That's my biggest thing. I expect to have a safe trip to and from my house.
Right.
Right now, that is not the case. They're making strides, and I live in St. Martin Parish. I talk about that a lot. Very proud to be from there. But all the roads leading to Cecilia at one point had more patch on the roads than actual original road surface.
Yes.
They're starting to fix those now, which is great. But I can see where the governor's coming from in that we have priorities. We should be funding those government obligations before we start funding non-governmental organizations. Not to say there's not a need there, because there's absolutely a need.
Right.
But I think that's where we need to lean on the private sector and lean on, philanthropy and some of those avenues. And easier said than done, I get it.
Right.
But I know there are some generous people out there. I know we live in a community that's very giving, and I know that we're going to make up the difference in that money.
Yeah, and I'm hoping so. And the thing that struck me in all of this is that I know Catholic Charities. I know the scope of their work. They have taken on projects, or for instance, FoodNet is under their umbrella now, and those sorts of things. And I think that as responsible Christians, we have an obligation to assist those who are less fortunate, who may have fallen on hard times. But speaking to this specifically, the money was going to be used for their homeless sheltering funding. And I know that Catholic Charities is adamant about and very diligent in sharing their data, making sure they can qualify and quantify what's happening with that money. And I think, and when I read this yesterday, I thought, okay, they use that money to essentially address the homeless problem. And that's something that has been talked about ad nauseum for years. How do we cure the problem? And I don't think we'll ever cure it 100%, but you got to start somewhere. You have to do something, because essentially if you aren't part of the solution, then you're part of the problem, right? And when I look at the stats and the information that is shared from them in addressing that problem and helping to either keep people from being homeless or to get them out of homelessness. I think that it speaks to that public safety component, the civic issue component, that kind of thing.
Right.
And that was my concern with it. It wasn't so much, Catholic Charities lost the money. It's, okay, I understand what you're talking about, but when you look at it in totality, they're addressing a problem that everyone is concerned about. I say everyone. Right. When you pass up a homeless person on the street, you're like, golly, man, it's addressing a problem that could become something that affects all of us. Right. And has.
And this is not to say that Louisiana's not addressing that problem. I don't think this is saying, because we do still have the Louisiana Housing Corporation, which is the state's vehicle for housing assistance.
Those
sorts
good.
of programs.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And what they do is Louisiana Housing Corporation, all the federal funding, state homeless, like all of it's channeled through them, who then channels that down through the regions.
Is it working?
Well, our region, it's handled by Arch. So they're the overreach, and then they distribute. It's my understanding they would distribute those funds accordingly. And if I'm wrong on this, someone please call in, let us know. But there is still funding from the state that goes to address this. It's just not through non-governmental organizations.
No, that makes sense. No, and that's a fair argument for that. My question would be, how effective has it been in either keeping somebody from being homeless or getting someone out of homeless? And I don't know I don't ask that as a
fair question. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to see the data, because if the governor's saying, yes, we need to not fund the NGOs, then that's great. But is the hole they were filling, is the problem they were addressing something that affected the public and was a civic concern? And if that money is going, to your point, some sort of governmental agency where it should, is it effective? And you mentioned earlier, are the tax dollars I am paying being used to deliver services at a satisfactory level? And the same question, I think, should be applied when you talk about homelessness. If there is a government vehicle to address this problem, are those services being administered at a satisfactory level? So it's just holding everybody accountable. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and what sorts of things he recommends we do with the dollars. Because, we tongue in cheek talked about, shrinking government, and now we have a brand new Surgeon General position at the state level. And it may be very needed. I don't know. But optics. It's all about optics. Yeah, all about optics. KPEL News Time is 6:48.
Democracy 24.
With recent stops in Michigan and Wisconsin, former President Trump is trying to bust through Democrats' so-called blue wall in swing states that President Biden won in 2020. Former President Trump at a rally in Wisconsin took aim at his opponent and tied the Biden administration's spending to higher prices.
I will end the Biden inflation nightmare, and we will end it quickly.
For its part, the Biden campaign is highlighting how much money the administration has sent to Wisconsin through signature laws that the president has signed. The Badger State has gotten almost $7 billion from the bipartisan infrastructure law alone. President Biden has visited Wisconsin several times to take credit, most recently in May.
My Investing in America agenda is fueling historic boom in rebuilding our roads and bridges, developing and deploying clean energy, revitalizing American manufacturing, and so much more.
Grady Trimble, Fox Business.
Get your home generator from Prime Energy Solutions and never worry about losing power again. Call them for more info or go to primeenergysolutions.com.
Eleanor's diagnosis is acute myeloid leukemia.
This is a St. Jude moment.
Immediately when we got here, you get a nurse that walks around with you like for the first 3 days you're here to kind of give you the lay of the land and where to go. They know you're already drowning from the news that you're getting and why you're here. So they don't want you to have to figure stuff out by yourself. I know, like, you're here and you're not supposed to be happy or you're not supposed to smile, but it's hard not to when there's this giant community of strangers all working towards one goal. It doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter what they believe. They are all fighting to end childhood cancer, and I think that's something that should be celebrated.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Fairly quiet weather across Acadiana today. Those temperatures are going to be sitting between the low to mid 90s. The heat index, the more important number, though, and that's going to get up to about 106. A 30% chance for a few isolated showers later on in the afternoon. Those winds coming from the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Overnight lows down in the mid 70s with a few overnight showers possible. Rainfall going to be picking up tomorrow afternoon and then quieting down by the weekend. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
No accidents on the roadways this morning. You get a gold star. Keep being careful out there. Current temperature is 80 degrees. KPEL News Time is 6:53 on this Wednesday morning. It is June the 26th. Jamie, we're roughly 36 hours-ish away from the first presidential debate.
Are you so excited?
You know, I'm
falling asleep just thinking about it.
I don't know. Let me tell you. Okay, y'all don't throw anything at me. Like, I want to pop popcorn because it's going to be like the event of the season, right? Like,
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Train wreck.
Yes. All right. So first of all, here's just the nuts and bolts for you. CNN is hosting it. They are hosting it at their Atlanta studios. And so the question should be interesting and obviously skewed toward President Biden. That's an editorial comment. But I mean, let's just look at the facts, right? I don't think it's an unfair comment to make. What do you think? Jamie didn't even say anything. It will air on CNN, but CNN, of course, just on TV, you got to have you have to have cable.
Yeah.
If you have a Max subscription, which used to be HBO Max, they will be streaming it there. And if you don't have a cable login, you can watch it on CNN.com.
You can also go to YouTube and on the USA Today channel, they will have a live stream of it. And I'm sure many places will have those streams.
Right. A lot of chatter or outrage, if you will, from the Kennedy camp because he wasn't Robert Kennedy. Was that his name? Robert?
RFK Jr.
RFK Jr. Yeah. He was not allowed on the debate stage. So it will be only former President Trump and current President Biden. I thought this was interesting. There will be 2 commercial breaks.
Yeah, those are pee breaks. You know it's pee breaks.
It's so true. Campaign staff may not interact with the candidate during that time. They have agreed to appear at a uniform podium. Microphones will be muted throughout the debate, except for the one of the candidate whose turn it is to speak.
That's not going to stop anyone.
Right. While no props or pre-written notes will be allowed on stage, what? Candidates will be given a pen, a pad of paper, and a bottle of water. The event will not feature a studio audience. And
darn.
Yeah, I know, right?
You remember when he was debating Hillary Clinton, and then he brought out all of Bill Clinton's mistresses? Oh man.
And then the other one that I read, and I read an article yesterday, it said, and candidates will be kept to their time limit to the best ability of the moderator.
Good luck with that.
That's how the sentence was phrased. And I was just like, oh man. Like, I've got my popcorn.
The debate's going to be on ABC. I just got a text from our friend Scene across the street. He said debate will be on ABC.
Oh, thank you, Scene.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, of course, CNN.com did not.
Well,
list that. And the phone's ringing. It's probably them too. We can't get to the phone right now because we got to get to top of the hour news. And we will talk more tomorrow, of course, about the debate. There's not a lot that we know, but, it's always fun to speculate. Again, tomorrow night, what time does it start? 9 p.m. Eastern, so 8 o'clock Central. It will last 90 minutes. KPEL News Time, 6:57.
The Fox Business Report is brought to you by Gulf Coast Bank, your local community bank. Whether your financial needs are for an individual, a business, or for the whole family, Gulf Coast Bank has the knowledge and products to serve you best. With 9 convenient locations throughout Acadiana, you're never far from a friendly Gulf Coast Bank associate.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Shares of electric vehicle company Rivian are jumping. Volkswagen will provide up to $5 billion for a joint venture. VW can use Rivian software and technology in its own EVs, and the two will work together on software for future vehicles. Ford was an early investor in Rivian, but started selling stock 2 years ago and ended its investment. Volkswagen doesn't have a significant SUV or pickup business, so it doesn't compete with Rivian for those models. NVIDIA shares are up 2% in pre-market trading this morning, following a more than 6% bounce back yesterday. FedEx shares are rallying up 13% after its quarter topped expectations. Its forecast is cautious, but investors like signs that FedEx is making progress on updating the company. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Hosola, invested in you.
Introducing Coin. That's COIGN.com. Coin is America's first credit card built by and for conservatives. Backed by Visa, Coin supports causes you care about every time you spend right at no cost to you and earn 1% cashback rewards on every purchase. Sign up today at COIGN.com. Select radio in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full detail.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL, Breaux Bridge, Lafayette, broadcasting from the Matthew James Tax Pros studio. Find them online at MatthewJamesTaxPros.com.
A 2024 first. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A congressman primaried out in the most expensive primary race ever. Progressive Democrat Jamal Bowman, who's accused Israel of genocide in Gaza, lost to George Latimer in New York. Latimer's a pro-Israel centrist who beat Bowman by 17 points.
Tonight we turn a page and we say that we believe in inclusion of everybody.
In Colorado, Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert won a primary in a new district she wants to switch to represent. Julian Assange is free, now back home in Australia after a years-long legal battle with the U.S. ended with a court in the Northern Mariana Islands American territory accepting the WikiLeaks founder guilty plea to an espionage charge.
This prosecution sets a dangerous precedent that should be of concern to journalists everywhere.
That's Assange lawyer Jennifer Robinson. Assange's charge stems from WikiLeaks posting a lot of U.S. classified military information online. An American journalist Russia claims is a spy, Evan Gershkovich, went on trial today.
He was seen in that glass cage once again, this time appearing with a shaved head. Washington and the Wall Street Journal have repeatedly rejected the spy charges as baseless.
Fox's Alex Hogan. The next hearing set for August 13th. President Biden's offering pardons for potentially thousands of military veterans.
The president says pardons for LGBTQI plus service members forced out of the military because of sexual orientation or gender identity rights a historic wrong. In a statement, he says some of the veterans were subjected to court-martial.
Fox's Jared Halpern. The day before the CNN presidential debate, when immigration could be a big issue, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas will go to the border in Arizona.
The White House is out with new numbers this morning, announcing that since President Biden signed a proclamation earlier this month, things are moving in the right direction. Those new DHS numbers show the Border Patrol's 7-day encounter average has decreased more than 40%.
Fox's David Spun. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
All right, who's there for heroes or their families left behind when a service member or a first responder dies or is catastrophically injured in the line of duty? Who helps our country's homeless vets? I'll tell you who. It's the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Never forget the sacrifices of our country's greatest heroes. They're hoping all of us will donate $11 a month. Just go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org, the letter T, number 2, letter T.org for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Your 24/7 news source, on air, online, and with the Cape Hill News app. Now the headlines from the Cape Hill News Center.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Wertz with a look at news on this Wednesday, June 26th. Lafayette police are investigating after a person was shot and killed at an apartment complex on Robley just before midnight. They arrived and had the victim transported to the hospital, where he later died. Officers identified a vehicle nearby they believe may have been involved, but the driver fled and a chase ensued through Lafayette into Vermilion Parish. They were able to stop that person, and 3 people were taken into custody. The identities of the victim and the suspects has not been released. A Ville Platte man has been arrested in connection with the disappearance of a 27-year-old woman who has yet to be found. Ville Platte police say they've been looking for Kiki Doucette, who was last seen on June 15th. They obtained a warrant for the arrest of 75-year-old Jerry Leverett on a charge of solicitation of prostitution. Anyone with information that could help find Kiki Doucette is asked to call Ville Platte police. A former Lafayette psychiatric nurse practitioner will spend the next 5 years in jail. Mark DeCluet was well known in the field of addiction treatment. He was arrested in 2022 in Alexandria for allegedly providing narcotics in exchange for sexual favors. In a plea deal Monday, DeCluet pled guilty to obtaining controlled dangerous substances by fraud and possession of a Schedule III and Schedule II controlled dangerous substance. He pleaded not guilty to the 7 original charges, and the Rapides Parish Sheriff's Office was ordered to destroy any evidence seized during that arrest. DeCluet was also ordered to surrender his professional license. Governor Jeff Landry vetoed a $1 million expenditure earmarked for Catholic Charities of Acadiana for the next fiscal year. The money would have provided sheltering operations across 8 parishes provided by the organization. The veto was one of 4 to fund non-governmental organizations, and Landry said in a letter that his office reviewed each of the 33 lines to determine whether the expenditure served an appropriate government function and was an efficient use of state dollars. The fiscal year begins July 1st. Dr. Ralph Abraham will serve as the state's first Surgeon General. House Bill 853, passed by the legislature, created the new position in state government. Governor Landry aims to modernize the department, and Abraham says he wants to change policies that have been holding the state back. Landry also appointed Michael Harrington to Department of Health Secretary and Chief of Staff Drew Moranto to Undersecretary. Crowley native Dr. Pete Krogan will continue in his role as Deputy Secretary in that department. Republican Congressman Garrett Graves, who is not seeking re-election for his seat in the U.S. House, says he does not intend to run for the Public Service Commission, as some had speculated. Graves says he looks forward to stepping back from the growing divisiveness of political office. Former Baton Rouge Representative Scott McKnight is running for the Public Service Commission. Current District 2 Commissioner Craig Green announced he would not seek re-election. Lafayette Senator Jean-Paul Cousin and former State Representative Barry Ivey from Central have also expressed interest in running for the Public Service Commission seat. Great news in UL sports. Ragin' Cajun alum Allison Habits will take the helm at the program that launched her softball career. Dr. Brian Maggart announced Tuesday that the Crowley native will be the new head softball coach at UL. Habits played for the Cajuns from 90 until 95. She last coached at the University of Alabama, where she served for 25 years before leaving in 2023. Ragin' Cajuns football has received verbal commitments from 2 local high school football stars. Cecilia defensive back Brent Gordon and Acadiana High's Russell Babineau will play for the Cajuns after their senior season. That's a look at news. I'm Tracy Wirt.
Fairly quiet weather across Acadiana today. Those temperatures are going to be sitting between the low to mid 90s. The heat index, the more important number, though, and that's going to get up to about 106. A 30% chance for a few isolated showers later on in the afternoon. Those winds coming from the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Overnight lows down in the mid 70s with a few overnight showers possible. Rainfall going to be picking up tomorrow afternoon and then quieting down by the weekend. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
All right, no accidents on the roads, y'all. And it's 7:09. I'm going to be very careful and just ask you to be careful on the road so maybe the traffic board stays clear this morning. Current temperature is 80 degrees. KPEL News Time 7:10.
Oh, say, can you sing by the dawn's early light? What's so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket circle, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Good morning and welcome back into Acadiana's morning news on this June the 26th. KPEL News Time 7:12. Tracy Wertz, Jamie Angel in with me. And it's Wednesday, 7 o'clock hour. Probably one of my favorite segments. I like a lot of our segments, but I love our Mayor's Minutes. And joining us this week is Youngsville Mayor Ken Ritter. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you. And, we were talking off air and, Youngsville at one point, you'll know which year, was named like the fastest growing municipality in the state. I don't know if it still holds that distinction.
We no longer do, but it's really shifted to be about quality.
Yeah.
And we can grow fast and we can grow with a quality focus. And today that's really what we're more driven by.
But my husband and I, it was our anniversary on Saturday, and we had gone somewhere on the other side of Youngsville. It was a New Iberia address, but it was right there, just outside. And so we took 92 up, which brings you right through, Youngsville. And I just had not had the opportunity to drive through. I was the passenger, so there's a different, you
get to see everything.
Right. And I was just looking around, and I was like, man. And my husband had never seen the sports complex. He was like, holy cow. Like, that is...
And it's still growing, right? Like there's still more
growing,
stuff being built.
Still a lot of active construction going on. That consumes a lot of my time, meeting with developers, planning, making sure that we have the right systems in place that we're planning properly for road infrastructure, water, sewer growth, really at all facets, making sure that we have our best foot forward. And everything looks great when it's new, Tracy.
Right,
but we want to make sure that
maintenance is a big issue.
Absolutely.
I would think so.
And the way that we're developing and the way that we're growing is going to really withstand a test of time.
Well, and not only is it a quality of life thing for the residents, and we've had this discussion a lot, but it bears repeating that it is such an economic driver for you guys.
Oh, the sports complex?
Uh-huh.
Oh, absolutely it is. I mean, the month of June, as an example, I think I counted on the calendar of events 4 World Series events happening the entire month. And I'm talking all age groups from like 6 to 18, girls, fast pitch. I mean, you name it, every age, every category. One of my favorite events is in the month of July, and that's the Mustang World Series. That's boys 10U. We have international teams that are going to be coming to play at the Youngsville Sports Complex this year. Now they're still working through the visa process, but the qualifying teams are Shanghai, China,
Wow.
There's a city in Venezuela that's sponsoring a team, and also Tijuana, Mexico.
Wow.
So that's a really cool event to think that we have an international stage right here in Youngsville at the sports complex. So that particular event may not bring a lot of teams into the community because obviously, if your kids are playing and you're from China, it may be a little bit hard to make that trek. However, it's really what's happening every other weekend and every other weekday, and that's the amount of people that are coming into the community. A recent report that I heard from the Convention and Visitors Bureau is that our sporting events alone have brought in 20,000 room nights in the calendar year of 2023.
To Lafayette Parish because because you guys don't have a whole lot of hotels there, right?
We don't have any hotels.
I didn't think so.
Which is why I'm putting on the developer hat. We need a hotel in Youngsville.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, any hotel room that fills Lafayette Parish lifts us all up.
Absolutely.
So, I'm certainly, proud to still contribute to the parish's economy, but we want them closer to the sports complex.
It'd be nice to have some next to the sports complex.
Yeah, I mean, and now you have Airbnbs and that kind of thing, and I'm sure you've got that kind of business.
And
there
that is
too.
filling some of the gap, no doubt. And, as Lafayette continues to grow south, I mean, that area near Our Lady of Lourdes, Costco, Top Golf, there's a hotel there. So, but we still envision a hotel near the Youngsville Sports Complex. And we're determined to get that right deal done eventually.
You have multiple teams, too, especially, like you say, coming from China, Mexico, Venezuela. And those teams want to stay all together. And sometimes it's hard to do that and still be relatively close to.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I almost pulled off and jumped in the splash pad. But, I was a little tall. There's probably a height requirement. But I can tell you that it was, I like to watch things happening because those kind of things fascinate me, watching what's impacting the area. And we went and had lunch, and there were baseball people in and out of there the entire time. And it wasn't just the baseball players. They brought their families.
Sure.
Because my husband even commented at one point, he said, everybody in their baseball attire. Like, you could tell who the moms were. Yeah. You could tell who the dads were. And it wasn't just at that restaurant. You could see them milling about. So, and I mean, I don't know if they were from there or not, but I would think
tell your husband that's exactly what we love to see, what it was intended for. You cannot underestimate the value of sports tourism to the local economy. For us, it's really critical because that is what helps bring people into our shops, into our restaurants. On the weekends, it's typically travel teams. During the weekdays, it's typically our local teams that are playing. But we also have adult leagues that are phenomenal. I mean, this week we started off our summer beach volleyball adult leagues.
Wow!
So that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. So even if you're not a player, it's still a great spot to go watch a game, get a drink, and just have a great time with your friends and neighbors.
Yeah. And we'll go ahead and dive into this list because I noticed the first item on your list, speaking of the Youngsville Sports Complex, is you guys are having a big celebration for the 4th of July, but not on the 4th of July. Tell us what's going to happen.
Yeah, so we host the Youngsville Independence Day celebration. Traditionally, we've always held it on the 3rd, the night before. We know, every one of our communities in Lafayette Parish has events. Our night has always typically been on the 3rd, at least since I've been around, which is just a great night because most people will have off on the 4th. This year we have a great event. It's going to be from 5 to 9. Tracy, you are right. It is at the sports complex. We previously held it at Sugar Mill Pond. We've just simply outgrown that space. It was a great venue to have it on the pond in Sugar Mill Pond. But last year we did have it at the sports complex. And it just worked really well. This year, it's from 5 to 9. We have kids' events. We have about a dozen food trucks. I think it was about 25 pop-up shops. We have a spectacular entertainment lineup from 5 to 9 p.m. The headliner is going to be the Rouge Crew.
Oh, I love them.
So, yeah, they're phenomenal. It's the wedding band, high energy. So that's sure to get a lot of people onto their feet. But not just that. We have Gino V, we have DJ RV, School of Rock. Layla Laverne has a spectacular voice, and we're looking forward to hearing her. And then the the main event, of course, is going to be the fireworks.
I love professional fireworks. I'm not a fan of let's do it in the backyard fireworks, but professional fireworks, I am like a kid when that starts.
I'm a try to make it look professional in my driveway, but it doesn't work out.
Yeah, no, I would much rather just like sit on the hood of my car or on a blanket or whatever.
Martha Jean, get the hose.
Jamie, you don't have to shoot. You don't have to buy fireworks. You can come and be our guest.
I'm going to be
on Wednesday night.
Yeah, well, pretty much. But the fireworks start at what time?
It's going to be at 9 o'clock. The fireworks. The music entertainment starts at 5 o'clock. Rouge Crew takes the stage at 7:45. So we have it staggered, but it's going to be nonstop entertainment from 5 p.m. on. The Pixis Splash Park is going to be open earlier in the day. It'll be wrapping up before the fireworks. So it's a phenomenal time to come out, be with your neighbors. It's such a just an all-American event to celebrate Independence Day, and no better place to do it but in Youngsville.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. So 5 to 9 on the 3rd. We will talk more about what's happening in Youngsville with Youngsville Mayor Ken Ritter after the break. I do need to say before we go to break, though, you did find out, you did some digging. Seen our friend from KATC texted us, a lady called in. We did find out since then that it's going to be on all the networks, right, Jamie?
Yeah, the debate will air on all of the major networks and PBS, Univision, Telemundo, all of them.
I didn't say the debate. Thank you for that. I was talking too fast. So tomorrow night it will be on all the networks. KPEL News Time is 7:21.
Media Minute with Howard Kurtz.
Julian Assange became a free man yesterday, pleading guilty to a single felony count of illegally obtaining and disclosing national security material, and was sentenced to time served in a British prison, about 5 years. And I think that's fair. The case brought by the Trump administration had dragged on for way too long. What I don't agree with is the notion promoted by Assange and his allies that he was just like any investigative reporter disclosing really important information. For one thing, he relied on hacking, whether it was done by himself or others. Normal news organizations don't do that. For another, he just put everything out without regard to jeopardizing people, sources, and methods. Some of the newspapers that relied on the information did that. And then he put out the stuff from the DNC, which had no national security implications. And so he's not exactly a journalist. With your Media Minute, Howie Kurtz, Fox News.
Did you know that Neighbors Pharmacy on Johnston Street in Lafayette offers delivery? How convenient is that? You're at work, you need a prescription refilled, you don't have time to run down to the pharmacy. It's easy, too, to switch your prescriptions over. Give them a call at 337-706-7706. But you're definitely going to want to make a trip to Neighbors Pharmacy. They're on Johnston Street, right near West Broussard. Go by and check out their wonderful line of gift items, whether it's for a graduation, a birthday, a just because. You will find serveware and tableware for hosting gatherings. Also, First Communion, baptism, and confirmation gifts, religious items, devotional, motivational, and organizer books. Hey, you want to go to a baseball game? They've got baseball game day items, too. And does your car smell funky? Do you want to keep it smelling fresh? They've got Pura car diffusers and so much more. Go by and check it out for yourself. And when you do, ask about their compounded oral semaglutide weight loss product. It's the same ingredient that's used in other popular injectable drugs that people have used for weight loss and had so much success, but there's no needle involved. All you do is place a drop under your tongue, watch the weight melt away. You use it daily. Ask your doctor and give them a call at Neighbors Pharmacy. So many wonderful opportunities to get well and to make someone smile at Neighbors Pharmacy on Johnston. Got a case of the I don't know what I want to eat? Well, check the Dining by District page at eatlafayette.com and choose a restaurant. While dining, check in using your digital passport to win a 3-night getaway with airfare from Wings Travel to Austin, Texas for 2. eatlafayette.com from Lafayette Travel.
Fairly quiet weather across Acadiana today. Those temperatures are going to be sitting between the low to mid 90s. The heat index, the more important number, though, and that's going to get up to about 106. A 30% chance for a few isolated showers later on in the afternoon. Those winds coming from the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Overnight lows down in the mid 70s with a few overnight showers possible. Rainfall going to be picking up tomorrow afternoon and then quieting down by the weekend. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5. KPEL. Right now, traffic.
No accidents on the main arteries in Lafayette Parish. That's good news. And, of course, a muggy morning. It is June, after all, in South Louisiana. Current temperature, 81 degrees. KPEL News Time is 7:26. Jamie's over there doing his best flash dance impression. It is Wednesday, 7 o'clock hour. That means Mayor's Minutes. And in this week, Youngsville Mayor Ken Ritter. Always a pleasure, Ken. Thank you so much again for making time for us. We talked a lot about the sports complex, which is a huge driver. We talked off the air earlier about a lot of infrastructure stuff. And when you have growth, it's not as easy, which I don't know that it didn't sink in. I know you guys have talked about this. When you talk about any business coming in, any big business, coming in, you as mayor and your team really have to figure out what those impacts are going to be, because it's like, oh, yay, big box ABC stores coming in. Sure, come on in. It's not that simple, though, right?
Oh, it's absolutely not. I mean, economic development is such a competitive process, but it's something that really has our undivided attention right now. It always has, but it's something that's so important for us in Youngsville today. So much so that I have a new person that works directly in my office that's really tasked with helping do business in Youngsville, from conception of a business concept to deliverance of a CO, so someone can move in. And that's really what her focus is. Economic development is something that we want to be at the table, making sure that we're getting the right retailers, the right service providers to support a growing community. It's important for several reasons. One, of course, because the more rooftops that you have the more people to service in your community. It just makes sense. People like to shop, to eat, to drink, to do business closer to their house. But beyond that, from a business side of a growing municipality, the challenge for us is really, how do we plan the community of tomorrow on today's budget?
Yeah, no kidding.
So, unfortunately, a lot of infrastructure projects take years to design, to secure the funding. And we've been working on that just really succinctly for the past close to a decade. And we're seeing a lot of those planning efforts pay off. You just simply can't wake up one day and decide to 4-lane a road that has been 2 lanes, forever, because then you're dealing with right-of-way issues. And, Youngsville does have a lot of sugarcane fields, but it's not just sugarcane fields. There's a lot of landowners. There's a lot of negotiations. When a development comes in, we want to make sure that we're getting the positive attributes of that development, meaning that we're getting the goods and services close to home. We're getting the associated sales tax. But we also try to do our best to mitigate any of the negative impacts. And typically, you hear traffic as one of those concerns. Not in my backyard is a real thing. So, I may want that new store, but I don't necessarily want it close to my house in my backyard.
Right,
I always thought it was going to be a sugarcane field. So making sure that we're asking the right questions, managing the traffic impact analysis of a development. So whether it's a school, Charter Schools USA has opened a lot of schools in our community. What the public needs to know is that we challenge them to do traffic impact analysis and actually contribute to making improvements to the traffic flow of our community.
Right.
And that's what we really have to keep doing, because road improvements, as an example, can't just be funded off of local sales tax dollars. It's really incumbent on us as leaders to work with grants, to work with at the federal level, at the state level, to get private partnerships to contribute dollars for local infrastructure improvement.
Right.
And the list goes on, but it is a very complex process. I'm very excited right now that we're going through the Development Ready Communities Initiative through LED. It's not a new initiative. It's been around for, the last few years. There's, I think, 65 communities that have already signed up that are participating. But when you think about, there's like over 300 municipalities, 64 parishes in Louisiana. For us to be, maybe like 65 or 69 or whatever that number is, I think we're going to still be well positioned to try to leverage the assets that we have to let the state and the region know that we are open for business. And that extends beyond just the Youngsville Sports Complex.
Absolutely, without a doubt. We need to take a break. We need to check in on some local news, and we will do that. And then we will continue our conversation with Youngsville Mayor Ken Ritter. KPEL News Time is 7:31. This hour brought to you by the Matthew James Tax Pros. Find them online at MatthewJamesTaxPros.com.
Your 24/7 news source, on air, online, and with the KPEL News app. Now the headlines from the KPEL News Center.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Wirtz with a look at news on this Wednesday, June 26th. Lafayette police are investigating after a person was shot and killed at an apartment complex on Robley just before midnight. They arrived and had the victim transported to the hospital, where he later died. Officers identified a vehicle nearby they believe may have been involved, but the driver fled and a chase ensued through Lafayette into Vermilion Parish. They were able to stop that person, and 3 people were taken into custody. The identities of the victim and the suspects has not been released. A Ville Platte man has been arrested in connection with the disappearance of a 27-year-old woman who has yet to be found. Ville Platte police say they've been looking for Kiki Doucette, who was last seen on June 15th. They obtained a warrant for the arrest of 75-year-old Jerry Leverett on a charge of solicitation of prostitution. Anyone with information that could help find Kiki Doucette is asked to call Ville Platte police. A former Lafayette psychiatric nurse practitioner will spend the next 5 years in jail. Mark DeCluet was well known in the field of addiction treatment. He was arrested in 2022 in Alexandria for allegedly providing narcotics in exchange for sexual favors. In a plea deal Monday, DeCluet pled guilty to obtaining controlled dangerous substances by fraud and possession of a Schedule III and Schedule II controlled dangerous substance. He pleaded not guilty to the 7 original charges, and the Rapides Parish Sheriff's Office was ordered to destroy any evidence seized during that arrest. DeCluet was also ordered to surrender his professional license. Governor Jeff Landry vetoed a $1 million expenditure earmarked for Catholic Charities of Acadiana for the next fiscal year. The money would have provided sheltering operations across 8 parishes provided by the organization. The veto was one of 4 to fund non-governmental organizations, and Landry said in a letter that his office reviewed each of the 33 lines to determine whether the expenditure served an appropriate government function and was an efficient use of state dollars. The fiscal year begins July 1st. Dr. Ralph Abraham will serve as the state's first Surgeon General. House Bill 853, passed by the legislature, created the new position in state government. Governor Landry aims to modernize the department, and Abraham says he wants to change policies that have been holding the state back. Landry also appointed Michael Harrington to Department of Health Secretary and Chief of Staff Drew Moranto to Undersecretary. Crowley native Dr. Pete Krogan will continue in his role as Deputy Secretary in that department. Republican Congressman Garrett Graves, who is not seeking re-election for his seat in the U.S. House, says he does not intend to run for the Public Service Commission, as some had speculated. Graves says he looks forward to stepping back from the growing divisiveness of political office. Former Baton Rouge Representative Scott McKnight is running for the Public Service Commission. Current District 2 Commissioner Craig Green announced he would not seek re-election. Lafayette Senator Jean-Paul Cousin and former State Representative Barry Ivy from Central have also expressed interest in running for the Public Service Commission seat. Great news in UL sports. Ragin' Cajun alum Allison Habits will take the helm at the program that launched her softball career. Dr. Brian Maggart announced Tuesday that the Crowley native will be the new head softball coach at UL. Habits played for the Cajuns from 90 until 95. She last coached at the University of Alabama, where she served for 25 years before leaving in 2023. Ragin' Cajuns football has received verbal commitments from 2 local high school football stars. Cecilia defensive back Brent Gordon and Acadiana High's Russell Babineau will play for the Cajuns after their senior season. That's a look at news. I'm Tracy Wirtz.
Fairly quiet weather across Acadiana today. Those temperatures are going to be sitting between the low to mid 90s. The heat index, the more important number, though, and that's going to get up to about 106. A 30% chance for a few isolated showers later on in the afternoon. Those winds coming from the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Overnight lows down in the mid 70s with a few overnight showers possible. Rainfall going to be picking up tomorrow afternoon and then quieting down by the weekend. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
Jamie, I'm almost scared to say that we don't have any major accidents or accidents of any kind on the major arteries in Lafayette Parish. Don't say it too loud. KPEL News Time is 7:39. Temperature 81 degrees. KPEL News Time is 7:40, and it's Wednesday. It's the 7 o'clock hour. That means Mayor's Minutes. And joining us this week is Youngsville Mayor Ken Ritter, talking about a lot of great things happening over in your city. And roads affect everybody, and there's going to be another road project going on in Youngsville. Tell us about Youngsville Highway widening and another roundabout. I love it.
So this is a project I recognize I've been talking about for a while because it has taken a long time to really build the consensus that this is the project that we want to, the main project that we want to do. It was an old antiquated state highway, 2 lanes. Mm-hmm. The city's taken ownership of it. Currently, our contractor's mobilized. The scope of work is increasing 2 lanes to 4 lanes. Mm-hmm. The section that's being worked on today is roughly from about Le Jardin de Belle neighborhood, which is at Hart to Farm, to Sable Palms, which is just south of Fortune Road. It's closing in the ditches, making curb and gutter drainage, moving expanding those 2 lanes to 4 lanes, and in some areas, room for a 5th lane if there needs to be a turning lane or a bi-directional lane. That is underway today. One piece of that project is the roundabout at Fortune Road. That's under construction today as well. Mm-hmm. If you're driving down Youngsville Highway today, this is the beginning of some slowdowns because there's workers out there filling in the drainage ditches, making sure that the construction area is safe. One of the things that they're working on today is actually building a bypass road. Youngsville residents, you recall what we did at Shimon Metairie and Savoy Road, where there was a bypass road built on the side to give the contractor basically an open work area. That same process is taking place at Fortune and Youngsville Highway. So the road is being built to kind of divert the traffic away so that way the roundabout can be built. And if you're thinking another roundabout in Youngsville.
No, I love them. I'm a big roundabout fan.
This one is unique because it's a 2-lane roundabout. It's being built for the future. We recognize that Youngsville Highway is a major artery. This is going to be a pivotal intersection with a connector to Broussard. We're opening up new property for economic development opportunities. And this is the second roundabout in Lafayette Parish that's going to have 2 lanes all the way around. So
where's the other one?
The other one's at Collie Saloon and E. Broussard.
Yes, that's exactly where. I thought that's the one you were talking about.
We all need to start practicing how to use it because it's going to be, that project will be completed this time next year, the roundabout it is, and the connector road to Broussard. The expansion, the widening of Youngsville Highway is happening concurrently with that roundabout construction. But that project is a little bit more in depth because there's a longer road being built. So that's going to be over the next couple of years, but it's underway today.
Yeah, and I know a lot of folks are looking very forward to that connector,
Absolutely. Broussard is growing a considerable amount on, I guess that would be the west side of their city, where we're growing on the east side. We have several great new developments that are happening on that end. Sable South, Le Jardin de Belle, Magnolia Trace is one that I can think of. Palms Crossing is one that is about to get started. And what's great about all these projects is they have a commercial element as well. They have frontage that's dedicated for commercial development. And we're seeing a really renewed interest in commercial development along Youngsville Highway because they see the progress, they see the potential, they know the increased traffic counts are coming, and they want to be well positioned to be in the right spot for that.
No, right. And we talked before the news about, planning things like for traffic, increased traffic for businesses and so forth. So the new road will be designed to handle that capacity?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is it ever enough,
Right.
but in this particular area, moving 2 lanes, expanding them to 4 and 5 lanes, with a double lane roundabout really enables us to continue growing to what we believe is going to be our 30-year population projection. Roads are something that we want to, make sure that we have a handle on in advance of approving development.
Right.
Even though, the funding may not fall into place today, the plans are built, we're ready to go. The beauty about this project, Fortune and Youngsville Highway as an example, 75% of it's being paid for by the state. So, but truthfully, just coming up with a 25% local match on a plethora of projects.
That's daunting,
It
huh?
is very daunting with the cost of construction increasing. So we really need to be strategic about where we're leveraging our assets, where we're asking for grants, because this is just one project of many that we've been successful in getting grants, but to your point, the cost share adds up quickly.
Right.
Another project I think about for parents that have kids that go to Southside High School, south of Riviera Road. I mean, that was a rural road. Half of it's in the unincorporated area. But today, that road is one of the main roads that services 1,800 kids that are going to school at Southside High School.
Right.
So it's probably been about 5 or 6 years now where we applied for a grant, went through that, at sometimes bureaucratic process, but we're at the finish line. That project is fully designed. It's being let out to bid. I don't recall if it's September or December of this year. And that's going to be the roads raised because there's a coulee that crosses underneath that. If you grew up in Youngsville, you know that road in heavy storm events has gone underwater before. But it's being raised. It's being widened. Each travel lane is being increased 3 feet. That's huge. I mean, so you're going to have breathing room while traveling down this street. Drainage is being closed in, so another curb and gutter road, sidewalk from Investment all the way to Shimametry, which includes that Southside High School area. And this is also a project that was federal dollars managed through our local Acadiana Planning Commission that we're a recipient of, and another project where we have a 20 or 25% match. But that project as a major north-south corridor in our community will certainly pay off dividends for the residents today and as we continue to grow.
And, you talk about spending state dollars and local dollars, and I want to go down that path a little further and put it and maybe hopefully let you give it some perspective. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. KPEL News Time, 7:47.
Fairly quiet weather across Acadiana today. Those temperatures are going to be sitting between the low to mid 90s. The heat index, the more important number, though, and that's going to get up to about 106. A 30% chance for a few isolated showers later on in the afternoon. Those winds coming from the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Overnight lows down in the mid 70s with a few overnight showers possible. Rainfall going to be picking up tomorrow afternoon and then quieting down by the weekend. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
We have a major accident showing up on our board this morning, Northeast Evangeline Thruway at Butcher's Switch. So you might see some slowdowns there. We did get a report earlier from one of our listeners saying there was a slowdown on the Thruway, but that was much earlier, so this is a new accident. Just be careful there. Current temperature, 81 degrees. KPEL News Time is 7:51 on this Wednesday, June 26th, as we continue with Mayor's Minutes with Youngsville Mayor Ken Ritter. And Ken, we were talking before the break about all these road projects, and they're going to be great, and everybody's going to love it when it's all done. But the challenge to city government to fund these, because despite the fact that a lot of the funding, or 75% of the funding comes from the state, you still have to fund that 25%. And for folks who say, well, yeah, but you're going to get that back, in sales taxes because of development, and the state's going to get it, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's true, but it's such a dance.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, an analogy, I guess, would be, you're a young person right out of college. You're going to make great money in your career, but you're trying to have the life with your 30-year home and your funding for your 3 kids,
right,
on day one. The problem with that, with government, is that it takes longer to build a city than it does to build your future house.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're not having the conversations about planning, design, all these type of things now, we'll miss the boat. And that will certainly, in my opinion, hinder our ability to continue growing.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Dax, who's one of our residents, he always, I've heard him say, water and sewer is not sexy.
No.
But, that's such a critical component. Yeah. I'm excited that years of planning to build a water plant is coming to fruition tomorrow night. I'm asking the council to award the bid to the low bidder to build our water plant. Mm-hmm. That water plant is going to make sure that we're set up for success as we continue growing, to make sure that we have adequate water pressures, not only for drinking water, but for fire protection as we continue to grow. So, that's one item that, we kind of take for granted. When you turn on the faucet, water is going to be there.
Right.
But, in that, project, like, where's the money coming from for that? The bid on that project was $8.6 million. We were successful in getting 6.2 of it to be funded by state grants.
Right.
And, it wasn't just something that fell out of the tree. We're grateful to just have great partners, great design partners that have lobbied the right partners in Baton Rouge, that have submitted the right applications to get those type of dollars home in Youngsville.
And was it, and I think it was you that mentioned last month that the new water plant is essentially going to increase your capacity for future, right? Was that you, or was that Ray?
I think so. It's funny because we're all kind of doing similar projects, but that certainly does apply for Youngsville. The water plant for us is quadrupling our daily production. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean to you as a resident? What that means to you as a resident, I'll tell you, last year we had a drought. Mm-hmm. Well, during a drought, there's many people that are watering their yards and that are putting a greater strain on the water system.
Right.
And we are a wholesale water customer from LUS, and that's where about 65% of our water comes today.
And that means you buy it from them and then resell
Correct.
it, right?
But all the water systems were really, kind of, struggling is the word that comes to mind, to keep up with demand.
Yeah.
We need to be in charge of our own destiny to be able to ensure that we have adequate water for fire protection, for drinking water, and having this new water plant allows us to be able to do it and to make sure that we have our best foot forward for the next generation as well. And what I'm really most proud about this project is our ability to secure grant funding and to rely on our development partners to help share the cost and the responsibility of building this plant. If you've lived in Youngsville for 5 years or for 50 years, how much of that responsibility is really incumbent upon you as a current rate user, because you're not the one that's contributing to the continued demand on the system.
Right.
So, for me, it's a proud moment just because it's great to see a deal come together, and just to get 4 bids in this type of construction environment is something that we're proud of.
Yeah,
as well.
Charlotte in Karen Crow dealt with that. I think it was a sewer plant or something, and she
didn't have a bid.
No, right. The first time she put it out, and I remember her saying, "Y'all say some rosaries," in her very Charlotte way. I absolutely love her. But it is a real challenge with increased construction costs, with all of those things, and saying, okay, we have this much money, but you can't find somebody to build it for that much money.
Yeah, and this is very challenging, particularly with water and sewer. There's only so many skilled contractors that are within that space, and there's a lot of grant dollars today, whether I think it was originated from the Biden administration down to the state. So a lot of demand for that work right now.
Yeah. Well, Ken, it's always a pleasure. Fascinating to hear what's going on in Youngsville. Hopefully our Youngsville residents took some good information away from that. Have a good day.
Thank you.
KPEL News Time, 7:57.
Fox Business Report is brought to you by Walter Campbell and Deborah Pierce of Keller Williams Realty. For all of your commercial property needs, reach out to Walter and Deborah today.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
General Mills earnings held up better than expected in the recent quarter, even though sales declined. It expects a gradual improvement this year. General Mills makes Cheerios, Betty Crocker, Bisquick, Pillsbury, Wheaties, and other brands. Volkswagen will pour billions of dollars into electric vehicle maker Rivian. In exchange, VW will be able to use Rivian's technology in its own cars. The initial investment will be $1 billion, followed by $4 billion more if a joint venture between the two companies gets off the ground. Rivian is based in Irvine, California. Its SUVs and pickups are made in Normal, Illinois. Also, VW is dealing with a recall this morning of Atlas and Atlas Cross vehicles, which may have a wiring defect in front passenger airbags. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
Introducing Coin. That's COIGN.com. Coin is America's first credit card built by and for conservatives. Backed by Visa, Coin supports causes you care about every time you spend right at no cost to you and earn 1% cashback rewards on every purchase. Sign up today at COIGN.com. Select radio in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full detail.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL, Breaux Bridge, Lafayette, broadcasting from the Matthew James Tax Pros studio. Find them online at MatthewJamesTaxPros.com.
He lost the most expensive primary ever. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and Congressman Jamal Bowman is not happy about it in New York.
A super PAC of dark money can spend $20 million to brainwash people into believing something that isn't true.
The progressive who's accused Israel of genocide in Gaza, Bowman lost the Democratic primary by 17 points. George Latimer won it, backed by a lot of ad spending by pro-Israel groups. In Colorado, controversial conservative Lauren Boebert won a Republican primary in the new district she's switching to.
What you do want is a unified Republican Party that puts America first.
Some Trump-backed candidates lost primary races in South Carolina and Utah. The former president just posted on Truth Social that if elected again in November, he will get Evan Gershkovich set free from Russia before taking office, writing that leader Vladimir Putin has no respect for President Biden. Now, Gershkovich is an American journalist whose trial started today, 15 months after being arrested, accused of being a spy.
We were able to see the 32-year-old reporter appearing once again in that glass cage, appearing with a shaved head. Russia accuses Gershkovich of gathering secret information for the CIA about a company building tanks for Russia's war in Ukraine.
Fox's Alex Hogan. The Wall Street Journal calls the spy charge bogus and a travesty. The U.S. calls Gershkovich wrongfully detained. Julian Assange back home in Australia after a judge in the Northern Mariana Islands, U.S. territory, accepted a guilty plea to an espionage charge. His wife, Stella Assange, says
Julian should never have spent a single day in prison. But today we celebrate because today Julian is free.
The WikiLeaks founder's punishment is time already served in jail in England, as Assange fought the U.S. prosecution for posting American military classified documents online. Next hour, we'll get new Supreme Court rulings. Among the cases left decided, the Trump appeal. The former president's claim he should be immune from prosecution. America's listening to Fox News.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
You know, since 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been committed to supporting our nation's first responders and veterans. They support America's heroes like U.S. Army Major Jonathan Turnbull. Now, Major Turnbull sustained devastating injuries at the hands of an ISIS suicide bomber. Tunnel to Towers gave him a specially adapted smart home designed for his needs. Join Tunnel to Towers. They're hoping all of us will donate $11 a month so this great work continues. Their website, the letter T, the number 2,
Your 24/7 news source, on air, online, and with the Cape Hill News app. Now the headlines from the Cape Hill News Center.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Wirtz with a look at news on this Wednesday, June 26th. Lafayette police are investigating after a person was shot and killed at an apartment complex on Robley just before midnight. They arrived and had the victim transported to the hospital, where he later died. Officers identified a vehicle nearby they believe may have been involved, but the driver fled and a chase ensued through Lafayette into Vermilion Parish. They were able to stop that person, and 3 people were taken into custody. The identities of the victim and the suspects has not been released. A Ville Platte man has been arrested in connection with the disappearance of a 27-year-old woman who has yet to be found. Ville Platte police say they've been looking for Kiki Doucette, who was last seen on June 15th. They obtained a warrant for the arrest of 75-year-old Jerry Leverett on a charge of solicitation of prostitution. Anyone with information that could help find Kiki Doucette is asked to call Ville Platte police. A former Lafayette psychiatric nurse practitioner will spend the next 5 years in jail. Mark DeCluet was well known in the field of addiction treatment. He was arrested in 2022 in Alexandria for allegedly providing narcotics in exchange for sexual favors. In a plea deal Monday, DeCluet pled guilty to obtaining controlled dangerous substances by fraud and possession of a Schedule III and Schedule II controlled dangerous substance. He pleaded not guilty to the 7 original charges, and the Rapides Parish Sheriff's Office was ordered to destroy any evidence seized during that arrest. DeCluet was also ordered to surrender his professional license. Governor Jeff Landry vetoed a $1 million expenditure earmarked for Catholic Charities of Acadiana for the next fiscal year. The money would have provided sheltering operations across 8 parishes provided by the organization. The veto was one of 4 to fund non-governmental organizations, and Landry said in a letter that his office reviewed each of the 33 lines to determine whether the expenditure served an appropriate government function and was an efficient use of state dollars. The fiscal year begins July 1st. Dr. Ralph Abraham will serve as the state's first Surgeon General. House Bill 853, passed by the legislature, created the new position in state government. Governor Landry aims to modernize the department, and Abraham says he wants to change policies that have been holding the state back. Landry also appointed Michael Harrington to Department of Health Secretary and Chief of Staff Drew Moranto to Undersecretary. Crowley native Dr. Pete Krogan will continue in his role as Deputy Secretary in that department. Republican Congressman Garrett Graves, who is not seeking re-election for his seat in the U.S. House, says he does not intend to run for the Public Service Commission, as some had speculated. Graves says he looks forward to stepping back from the growing divisiveness of political office. Former Baton Rouge Representative Scott McKnight is running for the Public Service Commission. Current District 2 Commissioner Craig Green announced he would not seek re-election. Lafayette Senator Jean-Paul Cousin and former State Representative Barry Ivey from Central have also expressed interest in running for the Public Service Commission seat. Great news in UL sports. Ragin' Cajun alum Allison Habits will take the helm at the program that launched her softball career. Dr. Brian Maggard announced Tuesday that the Crowley native will be the new head softball coach at UL. Habits played for the Cajuns from 90 until 95. She last coached at the University of Alabama, where she served for 25 years before leaving in 2023. Ragin' Cajuns football has received verbal commitments from 2 local high school football stars. Cecilia defensive back Brent Gordon and Acadiana High's Russell Babineau will play for the Cajuns after their senior season. That's a look at news. I'm Tracy Wirtz. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Make it even more important by dining at an Eat Lafayette restaurant and using your digital passport to check in to win a 3-night getaway with airfare to Austin, Texas for 2. Sponsored by Lafayette Coca-Cola. EatLafayette.com from Lafayette Travel.
Fairly quiet weather across Acadiana today. Those temperatures are going to be sitting between the low to mid 90s. The heat index, the more important number, though, and that's going to get up to about 106. So 30% chance for a few isolated showers later on in the afternoon. Those winds coming from the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Overnight lows down in the mid 70s with a few overnight showers possible. Rainfall going to be picking up tomorrow afternoon and then quieting down by the weekend. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
We do have a minor accident southwest of Angelin Thruway at Johnston Street, so be careful. Hopefully, again, it's minor. Hopefully, there are not significant injuries at least, but it could cause some slowdowns. Sun's up, muggy morning in South Louisiana, 85 degrees. Good morning and welcome back into Acadiana's Morning News. Wednesday, June 26th. It is 8:10. Tracy Wirtz and Jamie Angel joining me this morning. It's time now to talk about the Lafayette Parish School System. We're going to talk about a lot this morning. Some good stuff. And joining us, of course, is Lafayette Parish School Superintendent Francis Touchette. Good morning.
Good morning, Tracy.
Good morning. And welcoming to the microphone, Dr. Holly Bofi, not a foreign name to anybody here in Acadiana. Of course, you said you're living your best life now. You had a good run on the Bessie board, but there's time to close the door, right?
That season is over, and now I am enjoying being the principal of the W.D. and Mary Baker Smith Career Center here in Lafayette. We are working hard to change lives for the better, and I'm just so proud and honored to have this position and to support our students right before they get ready to graduate from our high schools, make sure that they have the credentials they need, the skills and the plans they need to be successful. So thank you for having me here.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to spend time talking about it with you.
No, and that's what I want to talk about. Let's talk about the W.D. Smith Career Center because it's, again, not a name that's foreign, but help people wrap their brains around what purpose that serves in the Lafayette Parish school system.
Our school is an extension of the high schools in Lafayette Parish. So we have Lions, Rams, Bears, Spartans, Vikings, students from all of Lafayette Parish schools.
Oh,
Sharks.
Yeah.
Eagles. We added Eagles from the early college academy. So we have students from all of the high schools in Lafayette Parish who have the opportunity to spend part of their school day with us. And our goals are very simple. We're building skills, our students are earning credentials, and they're launching their careers. So if you have a child who wants to be an engineer, a doctor, a machinist, a welder, a nurse, they're able to build their skills and launch their credential in high school or launch their careers in high school. It's absolutely incredible. And so students, our Lafayette Parish school system runs buses from all of our schools. They go to their home-based school. They get on the Career Center bus. All of the Career Center students come to us. They spend the first part of their day with us. We teach them the skills that they need. At 10:20, we release the buses. They go back to their base schools where they get their core classes.
Right.
And we get a whole nother group of students. So we have 2 groups of students a day that are spending time with us. They're working on these industry-based credentials that are great for students who want to go straight into the workforce. But I think people have a misconception that it's only for students who want to go in the workforce, who only want to go straight into the workforce. We have students who are planning to go and become a doctor who are starting their education with us.
So let me ask you a question in that vein. We do have the medical academy. What separates them, or why would a student choose that path versus going into the medical academy?
So students who go in the medical academy make a 4-year commitment.
Okay.
If you're interested in the medical field, you may not make that decision until you're a sophomore in high school. You would have already needed to be in the medical academy, and maybe you can enter late. I'm not quite sure of all the rules there. Right. But for my school, you can come your junior year or your junior and senior year. So you can come and take our CNA program. So that's a nurse assistant program. Get this credential while you're in high school. We encourage juniors to take the CNA program. And then for their senior year, they might want to take the EMT or the medical assistant. So you can graduate from high school. Let's say you want to be a doctor, and to get into med school is so tough. Lafayette Parish students have an edge over everyone else because they can work as an EMT while they're in undergrad. They can work as a medical assistant, or they can work as a CNA. Imagine what this does for their resume. They're building a resume for med school. And so it's just, it's such an honor to be able to lead a school that the district has invested in and is giving these very tangible opportunities to kids that they're immediately able to put to use. I have students, I had one, she went and got her CNA credential. The nursing home where they did clinicals hired her right away.
Wow.
They were like,
Awesome.
as soon as you pass that test, we want you on the payroll.
Well, because that's, if you look at workforce needs, CNAs and LPNs, those things, those are high on the list of vacancies. They
Absolutely.
I have a friend who works in HR at one of the nursing homes, and it is constantly a challenge to keep those CNAs filled. So, that is absolutely something that's needed, not just here in Lafayette, but around Acadiana. And how, it just amazes me that they can go directly to the workforce if that's what they choose, if that's the path they choose.
I have a question, and based on that, so let's say, I have a daughter who's in high school, different parish, but let's say she's in school here.
Well, we can work on transferring you and your residence. Lafayette Parish is a great place to live.
Oh, Lord. I don't want to think about moving right now. But let's say she, starts out in nursing or, and let's say after a few months, she realizes it's not for her. What happens to those students if they realize after, doing something, because, sometimes it's not a good fit. What if it's not a good fit?
So let's look at it from this angle. Let's say your child doesn't come to my school, graduates from high school, goes and pays all kind of expensive tuition to major in nursing, and doesn't figure out until her junior or senior year that she's not interested. If I were you, I'd move to Lafayette Parish, get your kid in my school, and find that out before you start paying for it.
That's an expensive gamble.
Right. Well, what's more expensive is that you wait until the child is a junior and senior. I'm looking at cost of college these days. It was one thing in our society when we told everybody they needed to go to college when college was affordable. What are we doing now? We're telling everybody they need to go to college. College is not affordable. And we are saddling our young people with tens of thousands of dollars in debt in careers that they're not really passionate about.
I guess a better question would be, let's say they do the nursing thing their junior year and they decide, maybe I want to try the culinary profession. Can they switch for their senior year?
They can. It depends. There's a lot of variables. It depends on the diploma pathway that they're on. That's the only time that it might trip us up. But if your child is in high school planning on being a nurse, then they could come, take CNA their junior year, become educated on what it really means. I think that's when people are not happy in their career, when their expectations don't meet reality.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
Like if our expectations and reality line up, that's where happiness in our career happens. I think another good example of that is cosmetology.
I was noticing
takes
that.
1,500 hours to become a cosmetologist. And our students can come, they can take the first 300 hours with us. They actually can get more than that, but you get experience. So it's this introduction where it's on the school system's dime. Thank you, Superintendent Tuchet and the board.
Well, no, but how? I just think that's such a wise investment of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, Tracy, I'll just say this. Again, just sitting here and listening to Holly and just seeing her compassion for what she has and what she does here at the Career Center, this is, again, meeting where we are as far as Lafayette. Our core values, opportunities for kids. Who would have thought that they would have these opportunities as which she has been describing. So we are truly blessed to have Dr. Bofi leading this charge to being a champion for these kids and making sure that these opportunities that are given to them, that they're taking full advantage of.
Absolutely. Now, so with cosmetology, they can do the first 300 hours, which also saves them money going to cosmetology school, because one of my daughters years ago looked at being a cosmetologist. And when we went to do the tours and to look at the schools, TOPS pays a very, very, very small amount if it pays anything. And it's not an inexpensive program.
None of them are. None of the training is. And really, I had an opportunity to sit down with a manufacturing company last week. There are incredible jobs that drive our community and frankly can drive our future. So I was blessed to become the principal of the Career Center, but I really feel like I'm where I need to be, because I'm investing in our children. And believe me, I'm pouring into our children, but I also can see our future. So I graduated in the 90s from Abbeville High. All the boys that didn't want to go to college, they went straight offshore. They made really good money, but there was problems, right? There's a lot of uncertainty in oil and gas. We have an opportunity with manufacturing in our community. We have companies moving in from California, but if we don't supply the workforce, then that's not going to be our future.
Right.
And so we're at this fork in the road in Lafayette where we have to get really serious about investing in the skills for people right now so that they can fill these jobs, and they're really great incomes for families, and they don't have to move away. Right. I mean, that's another part of our culture is keeping our families close. So the opportunities we can provide, they provide a good living for people in our community, right? Like, we don't want to educate all these children and they leave. Mm-hmm. We want to pull people into Lafayette. And so, and part of that is educating our children and helping them find, everybody has gifts, right?
Right.
And life is good when you're using your gifts. Mm-hmm. That's where people are joyful. That's where they feel like their purpose is fulfilled. And that's what we try to do every day.
And for so long, for so many years, it was the, you need to go to college, you need to get a degree, and that may still be the case. I am a proponent of that's not for every child. A 4-year college, while that may be a great option. I have 3 children. All of them graduated from SLCC. That was the thing that was best for them. But you do have those students who aren't going to go to post-secondary education. They aren't going to do that. And I am excited about having that recognized and playing to it, because I think that what happened for a lot of years, probably 20 years ago, is that those kids, those students fell into the cracks, because like you said, they went into the oil field or they didn't. And then the outcome was not what it needed to be.
And that's what we're looking for, is great outcomes for our students. We talk to them about, we want to set you up to have a happy life, mm-hmm. right? What does it take to have a happy life? And we can't control all those variables, but we're going to pour in, build as many skills as we can, get them these credentials, and also get them connected with industry. Mm-hmm. A lot of my time, a lady asked, well, what do you do? And I was like, a lot. It's busy, because we have people from industry who want to meet with us. They want an opportunity to hire our students. We want to give students opportunities while they're in high school to do internships and apprenticeships. The district has invested in our school growing since I've been there. One of the next places to grow is these work-based opportunities for students. We already have some, but we want to increase that over time and just make sure that people are getting matched with their gifts and they can leave. Someone might graduate from high school, not be ready for a 4-year college degree right away, may go into a field. Going back to manufacturing, machining is a very lucrative career in Lafayette. Mm-hmm. You can get the skills to be a machinist, go straight and work for industry. You may do that for a little while and say, you know what? I want to be the engineer.
Yep.
I want to be the engineer here. And frankly, we had a girl this summer that was in our carpentry program. She wants to be an architect. You know what? the builders are going to love her because guess what happens? Builders and architects get aggravated at each other because they don't speak the same language. But if someone comes up through the ranks and build those skills from the bottom, imagine a doctor and how much understanding a doctor will have if she starts as a CNA.
Yep.
And she knows what everybody in that hospital is doing and respects and values it.
Yeah.
And Tracy, another angle would be if even the college-bound kid going and getting a trade and knowing that, hey, yes, I'm going to a 4-year college, but we all know that TOPS doesn't cover all of those different fees. So having an opportunity to get a trade, to be able to work while you're going to school and knowing that you have this trade under your belt to be able to help support what's going on throughout those 4 years, to me is just another opportunity for our college-bound kids to be able to take advantage of and to have an extra income as they go through those 4 years.
And let me tell you, and that has become increasingly important, especially in our economic climate right now. And you mentioned, and then we'll take a break, but you mentioned credentials, and that is incredibly important. I remember I was talking to a manager in one of the technical fields. He was with a company, and he said, "I'm not as he ran the technicians. It was an internet company, and he said, I'm not as interested in somebody just having the 4-year book degree. I need them coming to me with credentials because." It costs companies a lot of money to obtain those credentials. So if they can have them going when they're ready to go to work, A, it saves the company money, and B, it shortens the amount of time that it takes to get that person actually producing.
Yes. That was the conversation with the manufacturers last week when I talked to them, and our students can come and do our manufacturing program. It's computer integrated manufacturing. It's for people who want to be machinists and for people who want to be engineers.
Right.
So if you have a child who is in Lafayette Parish School System and they don't want to go to college, they should come do my machining program. And if you have a child who wants to be an engineer, that child should also come do my computer integrated manufacturing program. And that's the future in our community, really. That'll be the economic driver.
And it's also, Tracy, the opportunity. Employers want to make sure that kids have that hands-on experience.
Absolutely.
And not just about what's going on in the classroom as far as ELA, math, science, or social studies, but knowing that they have worked, they're doing certain things to where they're making sure that those opportunities are available.
Absolutely. Now, Holly, there's parents, there's grandparents saying, okay, I'm all in. How does a student become a part of this? Well, first of all, how do I find out everything that's available? Because I'm looking at this list, and it is pretty impressive the things that students can take advantage of. But now I need to find out more, and I need to enroll my student.
lpssonline.com/career center. Okay. You'll get our current brochure, which is what I handed to you there. But there's also a tab, Apply Now. And so we are continuing to look at applications for this coming school year. I really appreciate y'all having me on now.
Yes.
Because this is the time where we are enrolling students in preparation for the 24-25 school year.
Now, if a student registered, like especially at the high school level, registered for their classes for next year already and is just finding out about this, is it too late to enroll and to get through that process?
We'd work with their home-based counselors to make sure that they have room in their schedule. For most of our programs, we take juniors and seniors.
Right.
Our culinary program, we actually take sophomores. If they come to us for 3 years, they'll graduate from SLCC with a technical diploma you brought up. And SOLA CC, let's get their name right.
SOLA CC. Yeah, absolutely. I was there for the launch. It was fabulous.
And their logo is amazing.
It is.
SOLA CC works with us in our culinary program for students to graduate with technical diplomas. So you apply at the Career Center, you communicate your interest to your counselor. We work together. If we can't figure it out for your junior year, we'll see what we can do for their senior year.
No, that makes perfect sense because that's what I'm thinking. Because don't they select their classes, and especially if they have electives and stuff at the end of the previous year or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
All of our high school counselors do an excellent job of working individually with those students and just providing them where the guidance as far as those different career choices that they are pursuing. So, again, as Holly stated, if anyone out there is willing to to take this opportunity that Lafayette Parish School System is providing. Please look into this. Make sure that you're reaching out to your guidance counselors. Anything that we can do to help you to get this experience, we're all in.
Absolutely. All right, Dr. Holly Bofi with the W.D. Smith Career Center and Lafayette Parish School Superintendent Francis Touchette will continue our conversation after a look at news. If you think that no seatbelt beeping noise is annoying, wait until you get a ticket. Buckle up, Louisiana.
Today, those temperatures are going to be sitting between the low to mid 90s. The heat index, the more important number, though, and that's going to get up to about 106. So 30% chance for a few isolated showers later on in the afternoon. Those winds coming from the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Overnight lows down in the mid 70s with a few overnight showers possible. Rainfall going to be picking up tomorrow afternoon and then quieting down by the weekend. From the Storm Team 3 Weather Lab, I'm KTC meteorologist Daniel Phillips on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Right now, traffic.
Still showing that accident of Evangeline Thruway at Johnston Street, so please be careful. You might be finding some slowdowns there. Current temperature is 85 degrees. News time is 8:39 on this Wednesday. It is June the 26th. Talking with Lafayette Parish School Superintendent Francis Touchette and joined by Dr. Holly Bofi, who is the principal at the W.D. Smith Career Center. And above everything else, Holly, comes through your passion. Oh my gosh. And I think you're instilling an excitement in everybody. This opportunity is something that sounds to be unique to Lafayette Parish, or at least you can't find it everywhere. We know that. But you said that the opportunities are expanding at the W.D. Smith Career Center as it relates to students.
That's right. So we continue to stay in touch with Superintendent Touchette and his team about how we can best support the district. And we are very excited to be starting a pre-educator program this coming year. So I would go to him and I'm like, Superintendent Touchette, you have me out recruiting for HVAC technicians and auto technicians. What can really change our community is having the teachers we need. And I have a passion for helping people use their gifts, especially in education. And so I am so excited that we are going to be kicking off our pre-educator program this year to really give students an understanding of what it means to be an educator. Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit earlier about what it's like to go and invest in an education and the expectations and the reality not matching up. And so by doing this, we can help students make good choices about becoming educators and prepare them, begin to prepare them before they pursue their post-secondary education. So that's one example of how the Career Center has grown. That's our next area to grow. Would be excited to add new students into that program this coming year. Since I've been at the Career Center, though, my most current push is to add an additional teacher because we have a lot of students interested in the electrical technician field and the HVAC field. And so I've had one teacher teaching both of those. So my most recent request was to add a teacher so I could have an electrical teacher and an HVAC teacher. I think that's something I really appreciate them looking into for us. We would love to be able to add that teacher. We've also, since I've been there, added auto paint and body, carpentry, and the medical assistant class that we touched on a little earlier. So we're continuing to grow the Career Center. We actually, before I got there, the Career Center had EJ Sam had come on campus. And so the campus has EJ Sam in the Career Center, which is I think, brilliant of our leaders to put the two together. Because you have students who are at EJ Sam, when they see what we're doing at the Career Center, they're like, well, I want to be part of that too. So these are kids who are able to catch up. There was a child that we graduated this year who really struggled in middle school, didn't have the support he needed in the home life that we want for all of our children. And he made a change, right? He saw enough in life experience. He made a change. He did middle school and high school in 2 years.
Oh, wow.
He did the welding program at the Career Center and the carpentry program at the Career Center. He's one of those kids, I joke, some of them spend so much time with us. I'm like, well, we're going to have to add him to I'm going to have to start paying taxes. This kid, deserve him as a tax deduction. He's so much a part of our lives. But to know that child's future was changed.
Right.
And when you change one child's future, you change their children's lives and their grandchildren's lives. And it's just so beautiful to see. We had students who graduated, and I don't know if y'all know about the welding industry. Typically, if you go to work in the welding industry, you start as a welder's helper.
Right.
We have 5 of our students that started as welders.
Now, that's impressive because that is again, we talked about workforce needs. That's certainly an area that needs filling.
That's right. And one of the reason we're able to do it, what's different, what matters about the Career Center is the students are with us for 3 periods. It's 2 hours, 45 minutes on the clock, but that gives them more time to practice. And in welding, for instance, the way you get better is practice, right? It's very physical, muscle memory matters. And so to just know that these students are graduating from high school and becoming welders right away is incredible. But it takes the child, right? It's not just they're successful when they put in the energy and they have the commitment to doing it.
Yeah, because it sounds like that student found the motivation.
Yes.
To go through those steps, to finish each phase of his education. And that's really special. Now, as I look at the courses that are offered, it's obvious what a typical class would look like or what they would be doing in each. What would the pre-educator course look like?
So the pre-educator class, we are going to expose them to what it takes to meet all children. And I think I had this experience. I know I had a professor just rolling on the floor laughing at me. We went and did observations, and I was like, not all these children want to learn. And she goes, because I wanted to learn. I love school. I still love school. Mm-hmm. I'm glad they pay me to be there. But I didn't understand that not everybody loved to learn. And, my professor's rolling on the floor laughing at me. That's the kind of thing that someone can learn early, is that it's about figuring out, how do you meet this child's needs? How do you motivate them so that they can learn? And in some cases, there's some kind of disability or lack of foundational skills that keeps them from being able to learn well. So really going into those and getting that experience, I'm also hopeful, which Superintendent Tuchet, I think we need a van.
Look, she's holding.
She doesn't stop.
Play all her cards.
And I want the Career Center logo on the side. I can see it. Like I have a vision. I can see it. I just need the money. Yeah, minibus. That's right. And I'll get my CDL to drive it if we need. But to give students experiences, and I want to take them into our elementary schools and our middle schools to really see things, right? Because we're not the high schools, because they're high school age students.
They know it. They know what that looks like.
But we want to take them into an environment where they can observe learning and hopefully, by the end of the year, maybe contribute to learning in some way.
Right.
Maybe they can be our next group of tutors. There's opportunities. People are really paying attention to this notion of apprenticeships.
Right.
And, some of our best teachers, I believe, moving forward are going to be people who enter the profession as our paraprofessionals.
Right.
And they have this commitment to our mission. They have a commitment to our organization and get the education they need to get those qualifications.
This is about growing your own, and that's what it comes down to. And we know the importance of what teachers are doing in the classroom, and we know the importance of what leaders do, just as what we're seeing here with Dr. Bofi.
Right.
It's something of which, here in Lafayette Parish, we're really trying to highlight that we are providing opportunities for kids no matter where they come from, that there is something that they can get out of that they can't get anywhere else.
So if they want to become part of the W.D. Smith Career Center or enroll in those particular classes, they need to talk to their guidance counselor at school, or go onto the LPSS website to help them walk through the process?
Well, they need to apply with us so we can start that conversation with their counselors. And they do that on the website, right? Yes. Okay. So if they go to lpssonline.com/career center, there is a tab on our website that you apply now, complete that application, and it flags it for for me to know that I need to be advocating with the counselors, finding out if the child has room in their schedule. They need to be Lafayette Parish School System students.
Okay.
And if they're not Lafayette Parish School System students, I would encourage them to look at EJ Sam as an option for high
Sam,
school.
real quick.
So
Tell us what that is.
EJ Sam is an alternative high school on in the school system where students can go at their own pace in their education. You know, there was a student that transferred in. I've seen a couple of students transfer in from private schools,
right,
that want to get access to the public school system, are pretty far along in their education, and so they are transferring into EJ Sam, becoming Lafayette Parish School System students. That means they're right there on our campus. It's easy access to us. They may also look at their public high school. So you have to be a student of Lafayette Parish School System. Superintendent, I've been getting calls from other parishes. I feel like I'm succeeding in my outreach and media when I have people from other parishes that want to come. It's always disheartening to
y'all
break
saw
the
how
news.
she treated me. She's like, move. Now, move. I'll find you a house.
And not nervous, not scared to say, move.
I have a realtor. Move.
That's what you get when you have a leader such as Dr. Bofi, who is leading the charge and being a champion for kids. And to me, that's what we want with every school that we have in Lafayette Parish, whether it be elementary, middle, or high, just having someone to fight for kids. Do what you have to do. Make whatever opportunities that need to be provided available for our kids. So, again, I thank Dr. Bofi. I thank her for her passion, for her desire to just push through any obstacles that she has in front of her. And look, we are truly blessed to have her leading the charge as far as the Career Center, and just knowing that I don't have to worry about a person that is leading that school when we're not there, because she's making the right choices for kids.
Right.
It's not about, being, someone that is doing things. She's making choices for kids. And when we make choices for kids and not adults, we're going to do the right thing.
Oh, absolutely. Anything else you want to add, Dr. Bofi?
Well, I want to thank Superintendent Tuchat for those kind words, and just let you all know that our children deserve for their gifts to be seen, and they deserve for opportunities for their gifts to be nurtured. And I feel like we have a special opportunity in Lafayette Parish to come together and give everybody a place to contribute.
Yeah. And speaking of contributing, I want to let folks know that later on today, they will be releasing the website will go live so that the community can put forth their input as you work through the process with the strategic planner, and also the dates for the meetings. All of that is going to be published, so you'll see that coming out within the next half hour or so. And you might have seen it on the internet, on the interwebs, as they call it, on social media. I will be joining the LPSS team in the communications department. Very excited about that. Jamie is going to be taking over the helm.
Yeah,
starting
I'm not hanging
on
out
Monday.
just for fun.
I'm excited. And Holly, you just upped the level of that excitement. I'm just going to let you know that.
Well, Tracy, first of all, thank you. Thank you for taking this leap of faith. Again, I say to people all the time that, I am very much active in the community. I'm active in schools, and I'm always looking for talent. And when I saw the talent that you have and what you will bring to the LPS team, we are truly blessed to have you. Our board members have been raving about the excitement about what that would mean as far as reaching out to parents and reaching out to students and to the community and just highlighting the great things that are happening here. So, Tracy, you're going to be a great leader in that communication team. You're going to be the face of Lafayette Parish School System, and we're truly excited to have you join our team.
I'm excited and just a little bit terrified, if I'm being honest. No, and they do have a great team. And, Jamie, you've been in the media for a while. We have about a minute left, but one of the things that we've talked about with the superintendent has really been having that open communication, being transparent, sharing as much information as we can, because, children are not just the community's most important asset. They are a parent's most precious treasure. and it's making sure that we communicate the things that are happening at LPSS, like what Holly's doing over at the W.D. Smith Career Center.
And I can assure you that will continue. And once Tracy's joined your ranks, we're still going to be here to help support you guys and get all of your information out. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, you won't. Yeah, this is not the last you'll have seen of me. I will be here for tomorrow and Friday, definitely, as Jamie gets his feet under him with all of this. Because, Jamie, they always heard me talk about all the buttons that were involved.
Oh, there's so many buttons.
So I'll help you and hold your hand through it. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to Francis Touchette. Thank you to Dr. Holly Bofi. Thank you so much for coming in. Have a great day, everyone. God bless. Got a case of I don't know what I want to eat? Check the Dining by District page at eatlafayette.com and choose a restaurant. While dining, check in using your digital passport to win a 3-night getaway for 2 to Austin, Texas. Sponsored by Lafayette Coca-Cola. Eatlafayette.com. From Lafayette.
The Fox Business Report is brought to you by Gulf Coast Bank, your local community bank. Whether your financial needs are for an individual, a business, or for the whole family, Gulf Coast Bank has the knowledge and products to serve you best. With 9 convenient locations throughout Acadiana, you're never far from a friendly Gulf Coast Bank associate.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
General Mills sales declined in recent months. It's the parent company of Cheerios, Betty Crocker, Bisquick, Pillsbury, and Wheaties. Though its earnings were better than expected and the company has approved an increase in its dividend, General Mills also makes pet food and sales were down 8%. Blue Buffalo is a General Mills brand. Southwest Airlines shares are slumping. It lowered its forecast for the summer quarter, citing a dynamic environment. Rivian shares are up 42%. Volkswagen will invest up to $5 billion in Rivian, and the two will create a joint venture. NVIDIA shares are up 2.5% in pre-market trading, following a more than 6% bounce back yesterday from NVIDIA's recent dip. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Introducing Coin. That's COIGN.com. Coin is America's first credit card built by and for conservatives. Backed by Visa, Coin supports causes you care about every time you spend right at no cost to you and earn 1% cashback rewards on every purchase. Sign up today at COIGN.com. Select radio in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures.
Get ready for something fresh and exciting with the Josh Guillory Show. Josh Guillory brings a new perspective to the airwaves, analyzing news and issues coming out of Baton Rouge and Washington, D.C., and breaking down how they affect you. Engaging, raw, and informative, Guillory knows how to have fun while delivering the latest in politics and current events. With daily features that entertain and inform, you won't want to miss a single episode. The Josh Guillory Show, 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, only on News Talk 96.5, KPEL,